And we're back to learning Photoshop in a year, day 56. Let us once again go over the histogram, but this time we'll use the curves adjustment. So you can find it right here. It opens yet again a histogram. And let me also open this histogram, find it in a window. And also make sure that you can see your curves under the properties and switch to the curves layer. And now yet again we have sliders, but let me reposition this here. And with that we can adjust our histogram. So just like with the levels adjustment, you can drag this to the right. Let me check here, seems I've got a glitch. I'll make this visible and invisible again. Now we've got our image back. But this time the sliders are inversed. So if you drag this to the right, the histogram actually moves to the left. So in this case it's inverted. And if we drag the right hand side to the left, this will drag the histogram to the right. But the effect is the same. And you can use a histogram to check how much information you're going to lose. So in this case it would make sense to drag the right hand side a little bit to the left, but only up to here. If you go further, we're going to lose information. You've seen that the sky becomes totally white. We can also drag the left hand side a little bit to the right, and this has already given us more contrast. We also have the color pickers again for defining a black and a white spot. But in this case it gives us more extreme results, as it's also adjusting the color channels RGB. You can see that now they're not in line with the general RGB, the white line in the curves adjustment. So this can give you very intense adjustments. For example here, if I define this as my white point, we now have a very bluish image. Let us return to the defaults by using this option right here. I'll check for the auto. And it has exactly done what I've done previously. So it dragged the sliders a little bit inwards because we can adjust this quite a lot. The difference between this and the levels adjustment is not just the inversion, but you can also define points now in center and drag them around. So in center are basically the midtones, and if you drag them around, it gives you a little bit more freedom to adjust your photos. Before I confuse it too much here, the main adjustment that most photos need, or that certainly help with most photos, is to give it more contrast, and you can do that with an S shape. Let me show you this. With the drop down we have presets, for example for strong contrast, and now you can see this curve looks like an S. And if you use medium or just slight contrast, you see that the S is being flattened out. So an S shape is always an indicator of bringing contrast to your images. A shape that goes in an up curve from left to right, this will make it brighter, and a shape that goes in a down curve from left to right will make it darker. And then there are extreme cases, color negative, cross processing, and there's also a regular negative for RGB, and this is going to invert your colors. If I wanted to adjust the photo that we've got here, as I've said, I would drag the sliders a little bit inwards, and then I would give a slight S shape to even increase the contrast. So I go to 25%, drag it downwards, 50% left click and keep it there, and then around 75% and drag it a little bit up. We don't need that much, because the more you go into the extremes, you can see that on the right hand side and the left hand side of the histogram, we're going to lose information. And that's usually not what you want, but I would keep this S shape, as I've said, with the sliders a little bit dragged inwards. And now you can see this has given us a lot of contrast and improved the photo. And this is what I would call the basics of the curves adjustment. When you're a total beginner, I would suggest that you try out playing around with the S curve to see how this creates more contrast, and also try to understand the up and the down curves to create it brighter or darker. And this concludes our little segment about the histogram. In the next tutorial we will move on from that. I hope this video was helpful, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.